DAE text line. It's 82945. Message and data rates may apply. Make sure you start your text with DAE or we'll never see them. Again, that's 82945 or give us a ringy-dingy at 888-388-0957. We mentioned before the break, back during football season and maybe when the Bucs were struggling a little bit, we said, hey, if you could snag any player from across the NFL and just plop him on the Buccaneers, who would it be? Well, we're going to flip that question to the Rays today. If you could take any player in Major League Baseball and put him on the Rays today, who would you choose? And listen, you got to think about if they would fit. You're not going to choose a third baseman, right? Because what are you going to do with Junior? Beyondi's your DH. So you got to pick a guy who's going to fit in there somewhere. And I think where the holes are pretty much obvious. But Aaron, we'll start with you. If you plopped any player off a Major League Baseball team, who would you choose?
Right now, with what we're seeing in the outfield with injuries, I'm looking immediately to the outfield, and I'm saying, okay, we had depth. They're using the depth, but they can't afford any more injuries. So if I can get somebody, a top-tier guy, and plop him in the outfield right now, oh, how about that guy has a big old bat as well?
That helps.
Big old bat. The guy I'm speaking about is Aaron Judge. Now, I know
he can't hit a breaking pitch.
Aaron Judge can hit any pitch he wants.
Not recently.
When he's hot. Yeah, he hasn't been hot recently, but as we saw, Aaron Judge got going, and he, I'm sure, will get his season going back on the right track.
There's no doubt.
But he is a guy who is one of the best players of our generation, and he's still in his prime, and if you take him, and I know a lot of people hate him because he's on the Yankees, but if you take him, he's no longer on the Yankees. He's on the Rays, and he's out of the division. Well, he's in the division just with your team.
He, to me, is as likable a superstar that plays for the Yankees as you could get. Typically, I just hate the Yankees, so I'm going to hate any of their stars. There's just something so likable, in my opinion, about Aaron Judge. And then he's a freak athlete. Like I've said this, you probably remember several times during his career because he'll make some play out in right field, and you go, you're not supposed to be able to do that while looking like a defensive end. You shouldn't move like that when you look like that.
He's a gazelle. The only problem with him is you probably only get 3 or 4 good years out of him left. He's in his mid-30s, so he's aging. So if you're plopping
How is
a guy,
that possible?
I know
swear
it happened
he's a rookie
quick.
2 years ago.
It happened quick. So if you plop a guy on the Rays, maybe you want a guy who's going to be a little bit younger. But right now for this team, for the window, the next couple of years, I'm throwing Aaron Judge in there.
No, I think he's the answer. I love it. I'm going to go with somebody else so we don't have the same answer. But I think he is the answer. But I did a little bit of research, and I said, I know he'd only done it a couple times in the bigs, in my opinion. But there's a guy who, because I do think it's an outfielder we need, Aaron. There's a guy who's just touched the outfield a couple times during his major league career. But I went back, and I looked. I saw this guy with a cannon out in right field, just throwing people out like a lunatic back in Japan. And his name is Shohei Ohtani. And I do believe, and you might say, oh, he's not, like that was years ago, right? He's not as young as he once was. The guy just had a 50-50 season. The guy just stole 50 bases. Like Shohei Ohtani is still an athlete. And I believe, yes, you could stick him out in right field, and he could still do Shohei Ohtani things. And by the way,
are you pitching him still?
Until I couldn't. I think eventually
because that catches up playing outfield and then pitching and all that. It's a lot.
I think I don't need him to be a pitcher or a major contributor, but maybe a guy who pitches sometimes. He's ready all the time. He's you know what? Honestly, if the Rays had him, he'd be the ultimate Rays player because they love to tinker, as we were just talking about. Sometimes Kevin Cash is too cute. Maybe he'd be too cute with a Shohei. I don't know.
Yeah.
But imagine him in right field, and then in the 7th, it gets a little hairy. You bring him in, he starts pitching again, and you stick him back out in right field when you go back to the bullpen. Like, that's a very Rays move. But I believe Shohei Ohtani, and to me, everything that it would encompass having Shohei Ohtani on and off the field, to me, he's the best baseball player I've ever seen in my life. And if I could see that in a Rays uniform without giving up Junior Caminero, yeah.
Does he fill up the seats?
I don't know.
You would think a Shohei or an Aaron Judge would, especially a Shohei.
I don't
International
know.
media, we know about that. but I don't know if he
that's
fills up
media.
the seats. Yeah,
He might fill up the press box. He definitely would fill up the press box because you know what? Akinori Iwamura filled up the press box. I don't know if he fills up the seats.
Will Sam Cohen go with a pitcher? Will he go with a pitcher?
Not a pitcher, but
A Bellietcher?
no,
Oh.
a guy who's got an absolute hose in the outfield and can swing a big bat. Before I say, though, Pat, you asked how it feels like Aaron Judge just was a rookie. A lot of people forget he was almost 25 when he made his MLB debut, so he was a late bloomer in terms of a superstar, but that's why it feels like he really hasn't been around all that long. But if I were going to plop someone or pick and plop onto the Rays, I would go with a young guy, and I would take James Wood from Washington. Looking back, it looks like one of the most lopsided trades of all time when you look at what the Padres gave up for Juan Soto, and then he doesn't even stay in San Diego. They gave up Mackenzie Gore, was part of that trade too, and some other guys, C.J. Abrams, I believe, as well. But James Wood, 15 home runs. He's top 10 in the league. 37 ribbies right now, top 10 in the league, and he's hitting almost 280. So
it's a pick that, and right after Aaron Judge, when I'm looking in the outfield, that's a guy I'm looking at in right field that you could absolutely. And when we're talking about age, it's a great pick.
You look at his face; he's a child.
And
23, third highest OPS in baseball,
and a big lefty bat, and that's huge in this lineup. So I think that's a great pick. Honestly, I think Aaron Judge, I think Shohei Ohtani would be great. I brought up before the show Cal Raleigh, even though he's having a down year, a little banged up. Cal Raleigh is a guy I'd look at. I'd look at a catcher if you're going to plop a guy on this team. But you want to make sure you're picking a superstar. And I think James Wood, with his age, is perfect.
He is. I don't know how to define the way he looks. I can't remember an athlete, regardless of sport, who's as big as James Wood is. And if you don't know, he's 6'6", 234 pounds. I don't remember a kid in any sport that is as big as James Wood is and still, when looking at him, feels like he hasn't filled out yet. Like, I feel like there's a Frank Thomas inside of him waiting to come out.
You just don't want him to fill out too much.
Well, yeah, his face is a little chubby, so you never know. You're probably worried about him going full Zion Williamson.
No, he's a tremendous player. The upside for him, one of the best upsides in the league. The only reason why I would choose an Aaron Judge right now, and I trust that James Wood is good. James Wood's going to be a great player. He's very young, as we said, and he doesn't have a lot of time in Major League Baseball. But then again, some other guys don't have a lot of time, and they're still performing really well, Junior Caminero being one of them. So if I trust the upside of a Junior Caminero, I absolutely trust the upside of a James Wood. That's a really good one.